All right. Well, good morning. We have people joining us. And welcome. I'm John Casper with the Oshkosh Chamber, and welcome to our annual State of the Community Address. I think we've been doing this for a couple of years now. Used to do it in person as part of the Business Expo, but last couple of years have come to you virtually here. So, and actually, it's been working out pretty well doing that. We've been getting more participants in that process. So that's all good. Today we have a distinguished panelist of individuals that are representing education, local government. I know we're still waiting on John Damel to join us. We had a couple of miscues this morning, but hopefully John will be here, will be joining us shortly. So for those of you who are listening in this morning, there is a opportunity for you to ask questions. So please use that Q&A tab on the bottom of your screen and ask that question. What we're going to do is we're going to have all our panelists go through their presentations. They're each going to take about 10 minutes to talk about the current state of affairs in their respective organizations. Then we'll just hold questions to the end, and then we'll go through those questions and hopefully have 10-15 minutes to do questions that way. Now we are recording this session. We'll be putting this out on our website later today, and we're pushing out to members for them to view. We do have with us Mark Roloff, our city manager. And Mark, you've been here a number of years and doing a wonderful job for the city. So we appreciate you spending some time with us. Brian Davis with the Superintendent of Public Schools, the Oshkosh Area School District. He's the newcomer, and I think started this past July, and he's been working hard with the school district. John Damel hopefully will be joining us, county executive. Alex Hummel, chief of staff in the chancellor's office. The chancellor is on some R&R, I believe. He had a planned time away from the office, so Alex is stepping in, and known Alex for a number of years through various media outlets and other places. And then lastly, Debbie Heath, associate principal, interim principal president, interim dean of health division at Fox Valley Tech. And Deb is with us here. And I think we're going to start with Deb. And so with that, I'm going to throw it over to you and take it away.
Thank you, John. Welcome, everyone. I'm Debbie Heath, as John mentioned, Associate Vice President at Fox Valley Technical College and Interim Dean for the Health Division. Give you some updates on the college to start with. Overall, college leadership changes within the past few months. This last summer, the college did a nationwide search for a new college president. Our former president, Dr. Susan May, retired the end of July of 2021. The selection committee and Fox Valley Tech board selected a new president who started on August 1st. Our new president is Dr. Chris Matheny. Chris Matheny was formerly our chief academic officer and vice president of instruction at Fox Valley Tech. The college has also assigned an interim chief academic officer to replace Dr. Matheny, who is Dr. Jennifer Lanter, and she was our dean of our general studies division. So we have an opening in our executive team, as well as a VP of Human Resources. Recently resigned, and we have assigned an interim until we can fill that position, and that interim is Susan Kaufman, serving in our HR department. My position has changed a little bit since September. I was asked to serve not only as I have been associate vice president for all the regional centers, but I was asked to fill in an open slot in dean of the health division and take on all of the health programs, which I currently am doing. We have a new position added to Oshkosh Riverside. Many of you know Ann Wilkes. She was in a role as my admin assistant, and now she's an associate manager of the Riverside campus. So Ann will continue to run the daily operations at the Oshkosh Riverside campus in this managerial role, and we're excited to have her in that role. One of the things the college is doing currently is strategic planning. And we all know what kind of challenges that becomes for a large organization. In the past, Fox Valley Tech has delivered a 5-year strategic plan, which will be in effect until 2022. We're now changing the planning cycle to a 3-year planning cycle to better meet the college planning needs and timing. As part of this new strategic plan, we created a steering committee in the fall of 21 with approval of the Board of Trustees. We have internal and external events and environmental scanning that we have been doing. We launched surveys to all of the stakeholders this past fall. And then in January till May, we've got a number of different strategic planning events that are going to occur. Last week, we had an in-service planning event with all staff to gather feedback. Executive teams then review those plans and core strategies and measures to assure that we're on the right track. We typically update the Board of Trustees with those themes, and they review for feedback. We bring it out to stakeholder groups once again for additional feedback. The executive team then finalizes that draft of the strategic plan. And once the board reviews that feedback and shares it with stakeholders, we intend to have the final plan adoption by the Board of Trustees and shareholders by the end of May, the beginning of June, which is very timely in order for us to plan for the next fiscal year. And our fiscal year begins July 1st as a college. Enrollment updates college-wide. Today our semester starts January 18th. So the spring term starting today. So I'm excited to see a lot of student activity on campus this morning. Overall, our fall 21 enrollment is slightly higher than the fall of 2020, but we're not yet at pre-pandemic enrollment levels. And I'm sure other organizations are experiencing the same thing. Alex is shaking his head. Our spring 22 enrollments look to be trending higher than spring of 21. So we're gradually getting up there. We're typically experiencing larger enrollment growth in the shorter term programs that really get people out there into their careers quicker, rather than our 2-year programs, which is typically the national trend right now. Those short-term training for jobs and careers seem to be pretty popular. Overall, though, I think Oshkosh enrollments are up 13%, and a lot of that is due to our aviation programs are stronger than ever and at capacity. Out at the Spanbauer Center, we have waiting lists. We've expanded our pilot training, and we're looking how to serve those demand industries a little, more aggressively. In Oshkosh, particularly, I mentioned this last year, we're starting a new program, Surgical Technology Associate Degree, and that core courses begin this fall of 2022. We recently hired an instructor for that program. We currently have students enrolled, and they're taking their science and prerequisites at this time. The program will take new students, up to 20 new students every fall. So we're pretty excited to launch that. as far as facilities projects, I'm going to focus on Oshkosh because that's what it's about. The new surgical tech labs are completed. We had this past year, we had a major construction project and we added the surgical technology space, the labs. We have 4 operating rooms that we're currently getting equipped and ready for fall term. We have a new testing center that's up and running to do the acuplacer and HSED and a number of different tests at the Riverside campus. We remodeled medical assistant lab. As you know, the healthcare industry is really in high demand for any of the careers in healthcare. So we're doing what we can to serve more people at the Oshkosh Riverside campus. That's been our focus since we did a space study at Oshkosh. The summer projects are also focused around the healthcare industry. We're going to build out some classrooms and science to create science labs for chemistry, microbiology, anatomy, physiology, along with a cadaver lab. So we can offer all of those supporting courses for our healthcare programs, the nursing and all of those programs. We're going to have a nursing lab remodel to update that at the Riverside campus, and a nursing assistant and phlebotomy lab will be remodeled. So our hands are full with facilities projects. It's exciting to see the Oshkosh Riverside campus expanding our footprint. I mean, not the footprint, but it's more remodeling. It's not new square footage. It's remodeling of existing facilities so we can serve more students in the high demand programs. So that's all I have, and we'll have some questions following everyone's presentations.
Great, thanks, Deb. I think we're going to stay with the education theme, and I think we will move to the University of Wisconsin-Oshkosh and Alex Hummel. Alex.
All right, thanks, John. I'm just going to pull up my my slides here, and we'll get underway. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for having us today. Really a pleasure to be here, and I'm very proud to say that I look at all the other guests here today who are speaking, and I think UWO is proud to be a partner with every single one of them, whether it's working on teacher preparation or new programs with Fox Valley Tech or City Hall on getting streets and other infrastructure ready to go. It's good to see friends and partners here today. So we'll get started. Real quick, we'll kind of run through some of the slides here and give you a sense for what's on tap, a little bit about what we've experienced in the last year, but also what's ahead for UW Oshkosh. Here's our 3 campus, 1 university offerings, obviously Fox Cities, Fond du Lac, and Oshkosh campuses. I guess the big news right now, and if you've been paying attention to some of the changes in the UW system, is Tommy Thompson, our interim president of the system, is going to step aside. Sets March 18th as his end. And boy, what a great leader at the right time for the UW system as we've all navigated through the COVID challenge. President Thompson really, as many of you know, helped UW Oshkosh step forward in a big way to not only serve our students and faculty and staff on campus and keep continuing, but also the community. Just to give you some stats for the last year, academic year in Oshkosh, we were able to administer more than, and this is data based on fall, so it's even a little bit outdated, but we were able to administer more than 51,000 COVID-19 tests for students and employees at our Albee Hall Center here on campus. Of course, we also opened the Culver Family Welcome Center to testing and vaccination. We administered more than 36,500 COVID-19 tests to the community there. I think that number is also a little bit low based on what we saw in the very end. And then when vaccines were available, we were able to administer nearly 20,000 vaccination doses to the community. So we're grateful to President Thompson, the UW system, and all of our other partners for helping us, including Prevea and Advocate Aurora, for helping us be able to do that. Nursing students stepped forward. They had some incredible practical experience there, and we made the best of a worst. And thanks to every partner who's out there able to take advantage and help us set these things up, because it took a lot of work a lot of support. Speaking of presidential search, we do have 2 new finalists. In fact, this was just announced late last week. It's hot off the press, you might say. 2 new finalists for the UW system president. And these are them. This is Jay Rothman, Chairman, CEO of Foley & Lardner, a large law firm based in Milwaukee, and Dr. James Schmidt. He's the chancellor at the University of Wisconsin-Eau Claire. So in pretty rapid fashion, the state students, faculty, and staff are going to get a chance to meet these candidates. In fact, interviews, I think, are even underway today on certain levels. So those are the 2 the candidates that have advanced as finalists, and decisions will be coming down probably in the next month or so. So we'll keep you posted. On to the local news and a little bit of a look at what's ahead. Our University of Wisconsin-Oshkosh College of Education and Human Services building, nursing education building, was chopped up into 2 phases for renovation. Got the first phase done at about 2016-17, and now we're finally getting around to completing the second half, which is really going to be the Teacher Education Preparation Center. And this is something that we know is needed. It's long overdue. And it's obviously very right timed. More and best prepared teachers is what our city, our region, and the state need. And by renovating this center, $27 million renovation, we're really going to be able to bring it up into the modern era and in terms of teacher preparation, both technologically, but also just modern spaces where students can collaborate and be prepared in the kinds of classrooms that they're actually going to be serving in. So we're really grateful to Representative Gordon Hintz, to Representative Mike Schra, and Senator Dan Fine for, on our local level, being incredible advocates to get this project done. It will probably break ground in April. Bids are going to go out soon. And of course, as you see in the headline here, it's right timed to coincide with the reconstruction of Algoma Boulevard through campus, which is probably University Main Street, if you want to call it that. And we're very glad and thankful to the city for helping keep that moving forward too. So that's a little bit about the year ahead. Another thing that you're going to hear more about in the year ahead is online programs. We are really heightening our concentration on the development of high demand online programs. We know this is something that students out there want, not just traditional college age students, but adult learners too. They need an opportunity to engage in programs that are going to prepare them, tool them up for a new economy. And so in the next probably month or 2, we'll be finalizing the list, and that will certainly be news as we push that out. Some new, 4-year programs, but also some new credentials and shorter term programs that people are going to be able to engage in and progress through really quickly. So stay tuned here. We'll have a lot more good news to report out in the months ahead. I just want to brief you all too on our University Studies program. This is our general education program, which, believe it or not, is now about 10 years old at UW-Oshkosh. We completely reinvented it, and it earned some national attention. It is built around quests, phases: first semester of a student's experience, second semester, and the third semester. And this is really what I want to share with our audience today. Quest 3 really requires students to get out into the community and engage with community partners. Since 2014, which was really about the first Quest 3 experience, you can see the data here. More than 8,300 students have taken the Quest 3 course. We've amassed more than 137, almost 138,000 hours of community impact, regional and international communities, local communities. In the fall, we had 11 Quest 3 courses underway, more than 500 students out in the community with 18 different community partners. And you can see the list right here as to who we've been collaborating with. A lot of incredible collaboration with our Oshkosh Area School District partners in different school communities, but also, nonprofits like the Day by Day Warming Shelter, Christine Ann Domestic Abuse Services, our food pantries, even area farms have collaborated with students to both, tell their story and just kind of examine what it means to be a farmer in the current times. So it's been really a huge impact, and I think students are coming away with incredible learning experiences, but also community partners are enjoying the energy and the talent of students. So we're grateful for that. You're going to see more of that as we push forward in the year and years ahead. I also want to draw your attention to something newer at UWO, and that's the Center for Civic and Community Engagement. This is in some ways linked up with the USP experience, that general education community experience. But also it's another opportunity for university partners, whether they're citizens, whether they're a nonprofit or another organization, or scholars out there, to work with us to make matches and leverage the knowledge and talent of the university for the benefit of the community. So there's the URL at the top of the page. I guess I would encourage everybody in this audience to take a look at it. If there's a way that we can further help you or help connect you to university talent and knowledge, let us know, and we'll do our job there. Again, it's a newer center, really started revving its engine, I think, last fall, but it's going to be another opportunity for people to grow and again, be a partner with UWO. We're going to be doing in fact, we are doing some strategic planning. We're overdue, and we'll be getting a strategic plan out on the street probably in late spring. We've got a really talented committee of faculty and staff working on it now. There'll be opportunities for community leaders to also provide feedback. But really, this is the question that drives us. And this is something you probably heard Chancellor Levitt talk about too. What kind of university does this region need and deserve? That's a question, and we hope that's on everybody's mind because we have such an incredible city and region, really distinctive in the state of Wisconsin. And we want to make sure that the university is on the same page with you all. So you'll hear more about this. We'll probably be reaching out to many of you to engage in some conversation and some focus group-like activities as we move into the spring. But this is really what's driving us as we get that next strategic plan ready to go. And again, another thing you'll hear more about as we get into the spring. We always like to show this data because while it's a little bit dated, it's the most recent and comprehensive snapshot of what's happening to UWO graduates. And brain drain is always a problem. It's always a challenge. But as you see here, we do a pretty good job at our comprehensive regional university of not only drawing in regional students, but also retaining regional students. 85.8% of the class are working and or serving in other capacities, whether it's the military or volunteering or pursuing further education. 90.4% of Wisconsin graduates who hail from Wisconsin stay in Wisconsin after graduation. So that's something we're very proud of. Always looking to push that number up. And here's another important one. 45.8% of students who come to UW-Oshkosh from out of state stay. And that's a credit to a lot of the people in the audience today, whether they're providing an internship or a work experience. As we all know, those things transform into careers. And it provides those students an opportunity to plant roots, to further volunteer and serve and raise a family, own a home. This is the kind of stuff that we think a regional comprehensive really is powerful with. It's retention. And we're going to continue to push up that second number too, that 45.8, because we think there's a lot of opportunity there. So where are they now? Students are in Oshkosh, Nina, you see Fond du Lac on that list, Appleton. Where are the top counties? It's in our region and in our state. So we're really proud of that fact. It's something we're going to continue to focus on in the year ahead, and of course, well into the future. Just so if you ever were curious, where do our students come from? Here's a look at 2018 to 2020, where students hailed from, and probably not too surprising. A lot of density here in our region, but also you see a lot of dots extending throughout Wisconsin and into northern Illinois. So that's where our students come from. We're a draw, and we want to improve on that and hopefully expand out too, and draw in more out-of-state students because we have capacity. So we're going to take a look at that. And let's end on some musical notes. It's going to be a fun year. We are reinstituting a marching band at UW-Oshkosh, and it's going to be called the Titan Thunder Marching Band. Look for that to step off in fall of 22. That's this fall. It's exciting. It's going to be a source of, we think, campus, university, and community pride. Hope you'll see that marching band in a lot of events throughout the region. Why do a marching band? Because one, it is a great source of university pride and identity, but also it's one of the more frequently cited experiences that students have told us we don't offer at UW-Oshkosh. They pointed out, and we think it could also be a draw for students. So students are coming out of high school, maybe participated in a marching band. Here's a new opportunity for them. We've already debuted our pep band. This is just a story from Fox 11 here earlier in the month. They had a chance to play at some Titan basketball games, and it's sort of an offshoot. This is the Bolt Band, B-O-L-T, the Bolt Band. And it's, again, another source of university pride, but another source of experience that students identify with and enjoy. And we hope maybe it can be another draw for students who might be thinking about a place to enroll. So with that, we'll stop there and just say thank you, and looking forward to a great 2022 and serving with the partners here today.
Okay, thanks, Alex. Very much appreciate that. We're going to continue and finish out education. I think Brian Davis has a slide deck, if you want to put that up for us, and we'll kick it over to Brian.
Well, thank you. Thank you, everyone. Again, my name is Brian Davis, Superintendent of the Oshkosh Area School District, and just proud to be able to serve in this role. And I just want to second what Alex had said about the great partnerships with this panel. So I've had an opportunity to meet everyone and to be able to work with your institutions to some capacity. So I just want to thank you for the welcome that I've had personally, and also the continued partnerships that we've had with your institutions. As we are currently in the third year of our strategic plan, which guides our work, that was set up in 2019. It's a 5-year strategic plan, so that's set to expire in 2024. But that's something that was very helpful from an organizational standpoint for me to be able to align our work. We have 5 priorities. 5 goals that we have. We have priorities under each one of those goals, and then some metrics to be able to show our progress. So we anticipate being able to provide a community opportunity to show our progress on that strategic plan. That'll be coming out in April. So look for that, probably the end of April, community opportunity to be able to check in. Not only an opportunity to meet our staff, but also see how we're doing, and to be able to get feedback from our community. So we'll be planning that, like I said, the end of April, to show basically our progress on our strategic plan and the work that we've been doing here at the district. So really nice to be able to have that. Our guiding principle is students first. So really everything that we do, and a lot of times that ends up being some difficult conversations or difficult decisions that we need to make, from the school board down to the staff. We use students first as our priority. I wanted to give some updates on 4 different areas today to be able to talk through them. The first one is COVID impact. We know that COVID's had a significant impact on our schools, on our community in general. But I would say a couple of things that we're continuing to work through. One certainly is the academic progress, and making sure that we're monitoring the academic progress of our students and providing those supports that students need to be able to stay on grade level and make at least a year's worth of academic growth. Our staff have done a phenomenal job of that. We have our pre-assessments in place for reading and math, so we know where our students are. We have seen a little bit of a dip in academic progress for our students over the last couple of years, but we anticipate with our in-person instruction to be able to bring that up to speed. So our biggest priority that the board has provided for myself and our staff is to be able to stay in person. That's something that we know is important, not only from a family and school standpoint, but also just from a community standpoint. We know the pressure that virtual learning put on a lot of families to be able to be home and supervise their students, along with maintaining our workforce across the city is really difficult to do. So we're doing everything we can to make sure that from a COVID standpoint, we can stay in person with all of our mitigation measures. So that includes masking. We currently have a masking requirement through January 28th. We're monitoring the significantly high levels of COVID right now. So we'll be making a decision at the end of the week of whether or not we go mask optional or whether we extend that for a little bit. So that'll be coming up. We continue to work very closely with the health department and our area superintendents just to make sure that we're using our best data available and best practices to make sure that our students can continue to make progress. I would say another impact significantly for us from a COVID standpoint has just been the social emotional impact that our students have had from being isolated and in virtual learning. for some of the last couple of years. So it took us a little bit of time to get ourselves moving in a school context. But again, our staff and students and families have done a great job over the last couple of months to be able to get us back in rhythm. So that's been great to see as we're moving forward. Second, I wanted to touch on our staffing needs, and our staffing needs are really significant. Certainly, you've seen that across many different industries, but our staffing needs really were heightened prior to the pandemic, just through really kind of generational retirements, but also have been significantly impacted with COVID. Between our regular staff and our substitute teacher pool has been pretty depleted. So if there's anybody out there that's interested in being a substitute teacher to be able to support the schools, please contact myself or our HR department, and we'll get you set up to become a sub and interact with the great kids and staff that we have in our district. But that continues to be a need, and our Achilles heel for staying in person is really revolves around our staffing needs. So we continue to recruit subs and regular staff. We're also working in partnership with Fox Valley Tech and UWO to work on some systemic solutions. One of which includes taking a look at our teacher ed programming and making sure that our teacher ed programming can be competitive with our other departments. And so can we look at, getting a target for having our teachers being able to graduate in 4 years. We're working on support for our teachers to be able to get some paid either internships or student teaching experiences similar to our business graduates would get, to make sure that we can help support them moving forward. So working on some of those bigger picture items along with the immediate day-to-day needs that we have. But again, our commitment is to stay in person for our instructional models throughout this year, and we'll do everything that we can to make sure that happens. We also have some significant facility improvements. So one, I want to thank the Oshkosh community and all of our voters for supporting the referendum that we had passed recently. So we're deep into the planning and the execution of that plan. A lot of the work over our summer has been related to facilities improvements on secured entries at many of our schools. The biggest I would say splash for us has been able to work on our new middle school. So Vel Phillips Middle School will break ground in April. So we're really excited about that on the north side of town. And that's going to be a consolidation. So taking 2 middle schools down to 1. So that includes Merrill Middle School students and the Webster Stanley Middle School students will be in September of 2023 will be in Vel Phillips Middle School. So really excited about that as an opportunity. So working through our final designs and bids for that project. And again, we'll be having a community session to be able to break ground and celebrate our work together in probably late April as we're moving forward with that. Also a reminder that that's the first of our 4 phases for our facilities improvements. We have our second phase. The planning for our second phase is getting kicked off this month, looking at some of our co-curricular facilities that we have that weren't able to make it in the first phase of the referendum, but continue to be significant needs for us. We're looking at 4 particular areas for our co-curricular to support our co-curricular facilities. So one is more indoor practice facilities to be able to take pressure off of our high school facilities. 2 is our outdoor competitive fields and diamonds that we'd have to be able to make sure that we can expand the opportunities for our students and our teams to be able to play, and also have an opportunity to bring in teams and tournaments from other places, especially around the youth. Youth sports has been a booming business, and we want to make sure that Oshkosh can take advantage of that. So improving our outdoor athletic facilities is important as we're moving forward. We're also looking at a potential of a natatorium and going to explore some of those options and along with our performing arts centers, specifically how can we do some upgrades at North High School to make sure that they have a adequate auditorium on their campus. So those are 4 areas that we're exploring with a community group for our Facilities Advisory Committee 2.0. Those projects will likely be wrapped up in our second phase of referendum, and that's a ways out yet. That's probably 5 or 6 years out from now, but we want to be able to start that planning prioritization as we're moving forward to be able to get community feedback. So we'll keep you posted on that as we're moving forward. But that's the latest in our facilities updates. And finally, I wanted to finish today with an alumni spotlight. Certainly, again, our priority is students first. And our alumni spotlight that I wanted to share with you today is Tyrese Halliburton. So Tyrese is a 2018 grad of Oshkosh North High School. Tyrese was part of the 2018 State Boys Basketball Championship. Tyrese went on to play at Iowa State for a couple of years for his college career, and then was drafted in the 2020 draft at number 12 in the NBA draft, which is an incredible accomplishment for Tyrese and his support network. But Tyrese has done a phenomenal job. In the first year of the NBA, Tyrese was named to the All NBA rookie team, averaging about 14 points, 4 rebounds, and just doing an incredible job now in his second year for the Sacramento Kings. So really proud of Tyrese and his ability to take his game to the next level. And probably more important than his basketball game, which is obviously phenomenal, is just who Tyrese is as a person. So he's a phenomenal advocate. He's always been involved from a community standpoint when he was in high school here in Oshkosh, and has also taken that philanthropy type of approach and service to others approach to the Sacramento area. So just really proud of Tyrese. So wanted to raise him up. Tyrese is back in Milwaukee. They play the Bucks this coming Saturday. So we currently have scheduled on Friday night a jersey retirement at Oshkosh North, retiring Tyrese's jersey. So again, come out and join us for that. I'm really excited to celebrate Tyrese and everybody that went into helping support Tyrese throughout the day or throughout his years in Oshkosh. And we know that was a lot of phenomenal teachers and staff and community members that helped him out along the way. And Tyrese is thankful for that. So I'm looking forward to that. And all the other things that we have going on in the Oshkosh Area School District. So with that, I apologize for not being able to see the slides because they were phenomenal, but that's the way that it goes. So thanks, and I'll take questions at the end.
Great. Thanks, Brian. I did see your slide deck yesterday. It is phenomenal. I got goosebumps as I went through stuff. All right. Mark Roloff, city manager, is up next. And he has a slide deck, and this one, see if this works.
Oh, load it up and see. Just
All right.
I think we're in pretty good shape. There we go. All right, here we go. Well, good morning, everybody. It is nice to see so many of our partners and a great turnout from the participant list. So good morning, and happy to just fill you in on a lot of things going on. First of all, just want to cover some issues about our 2022 budget. It points out something that I think is important. Our general fund expenditure increase is only about a little over 0.5%. There's a variety of ways that we were able to keep it down that much, but you'll also notice that our levy increase was over 4.5%. And a lot of questions come from that. Why do you have such a small expenditure increase, but such a large levy increase? And, quite honestly, it has to do with the lack of state aid and an over-reliance on our property tax. That's been a common theme. State shared revenue, which is the number 2 revenue source after property tax, has either been reduced or frozen for the last 20 plus years. So when we don't have our second largest revenue doing anything except decreasing, we go to the only other tool we have, and that's property tax. That's been a challenge, especially given the investment in infrastructure we've been doing, both in street infrastructure as well as buildings and things of that nature. Some of the big things, highlights for our general fund: public safety, staffing costs, body camera software upgrades. We're making better use of body camera, and I think that helps keep our police department more accountable to the public, which is always a good thing. And also, one thing I don't have listed here, and perhaps County Executive Damel will talk about it, but we're partnering with the county and their Human Services Department to have a social worker work with our community health officer to deal with social issues that may come up with people we encounter through our police department, and trying to get them into the mental health recovery system. And the county is, that's something that the county is very good at. So we're partnering with them on that. The other issues there, insurance. Health insurance, we've done a variety of things to keep our costs down, but eventually that stuff catches up with you. And our health insurance, even by making some significant changes to our health insurance, we're still looking at a 12% increase for 2022. Cyber liability, a lot of people forget the other virus that happened in 2020, and we had that ransomware attack that hit us hard, and our cyber liability insurance essentially doubled. But I think that's not just a reflection of our experience, but a reflection of experiences all over the place. And then workers' comp insurance, that's gone up quite a bit as well. So those are challenges that we're all facing while still trying to keep our budget in check. There's a list of some projects that are going on in 2022 for our business community and our other partners who are watching today. Oregon Street, because we've been working on Oregon Street this will be the 5th year, phase 5, Waukah Avenue to 35th. It's really about the relay of the sanitary sewer, even though we've been doing street improvements out there. Now we're going to be getting into just the sewer phase with a little bit of patching, but that south end of town does not have adequate enough depth for its sanitary sewer. That's why we're relaying it. And so this will enable us to get some growth out there. You may have noticed some multifamily housing on the south end. They can't grow anymore because there's not enough sewer capacity. This relay of the sanitary sewer will enable that area to grow. So that'll be a boon to that area, and we're excited about that. Alex already mentioned for the university, Algoma Boulevard, long last will be done. Appreciate the university's assistance with us to get the state working, because the university, because it's a creature of the state, has to work through the state to get a lot of these things done. They helped us a great deal. We're going to be bidding this out next month, and cross our fingers that we'll be in decent shape on that. So, or excuse me, I'm sorry, that's another project that's getting bid next month. Algoma was just bid, and we were about $1 million under, So we're excited about that. The idea is we have to balance the scheduling of that with the university academic schedule. So we won't be doing a ton of work near the university. We'll probably be more on the north end, closer to Congress. And then when the university closes down their primary academic year, then we'll be working quite heavily through the summer. East 9th is, you may have heard something about the Sawdust District. Part of getting that area done is to extend East 9th Avenue to go right to Pioneer Drive. So you're not doing the slalom through the area to get to Pioneer Island. It'll be, directions, take 9th Avenue to the end and you're at Pioneer Island. It'll make that area much more accessible for the public. Rosalia Street doesn't seem like a big street in the scheme of things, but what's huge about it is we have a major water transmission line that has to get done. That's the primary reason we're working on Rosalia Street. Public facilities, some of the big ones are Parks Field Operations Building. That's the one that's getting bid out next month. We're crossing our fingers because we know that costs for construction have gone up considerably. Case in point, the next one, our Lakeshore Park Four Season building. That was bid out, and the estimate was put together about the time COVID hit, and the costs have gone up astronomically between contractor costs as well as materials. And so we had to juggle some projects around to make that happen. And then another one that the council's been wrestling with is the Clear Wells. That's our water filtration plant right along the lakeshore. I know there are a lot of people who have concerns about the aesthetics of it, but this is really about planning for the future of our providing water. Very limited campus there, so that's the real challenge that we have there. All of our capital projects have something to do with debt management. So the council's been working on that to how we can balance our needs with our ability to pay. Our goal is to reduce our outstanding debt. And when I started here in 2008, we were at about 80% of our borrowing limit. We're down to 50% of our borrowing limit, which is very good, but we still have a challenge to balance the need to get a lot of capital improvements done, including public buildings, as well as keeping our debt down. So that's a constant juggling act. We've talked a lot about people complaining about special assessments. That's been going on for probably a good 8-9 years now. Council still looking at the different options that might be available to replace special assessments, and you're going to be seeing more of that in the coming year. Development update, a lot of this stuff you've seen. Oshkosh Avenue corridor, I won't dwell on that a lot because you get to see that happen right before your eyes. Real happy about the improvements that are going out there. Southwest Industrial Park, you don't necessarily drive by it, but I think it's important to keep pointing out. We have the transload facility that was done in partnership with the state of Wisconsin to get a rail facility that you can load and much more cost effective. It started out helping Oshkosh Corporation, but it's expanded to much greater capacity. The Circle Road is part of that, and that's complete now. So our partners with Wisconsin Southern Railroad working very closely to find tenants who actually want to make better use of that facility. Residential development is still something that's important. The 9th Avenue and 20th Avenue corridors are important. We're pursuing options to make housing more affordable. We just unveiled a housing study that we're getting public input on, and it'll eventually go to council as well. Boatworks is one of those areas that we've had for quite a while. Residential development on the South Shore, and then lastly, the Sawdust District Plan, the T-Wall development, the redevelopment authority agreed to work with T-Wall on the development. That's west of South Main Street and north of 9th. Again, I talked about East 9th getting done. That will be a catalyst for or with Pioneer. I wish I had an update on that. I know that the owners are still very interested, local owners still very interested in doing something, but that's a work in progress, and just all I can do is just preach patience on that one. And then finally, the council, several of us have mentioned strategic planning. The council's in the middle of a strategic plan, and we're going to be updating that for the next biennium for 23-24. But some of the things going on, obviously COVID-19 response, service delivery has been impacted due to staffing challenges. There's a lot of turnover with all of our public agencies, whether it's the aging of the workforce or people now getting out of things because they want to look for something different. That's a real challenge. We've had some greater than usual turnover, something we're working on. Homelessness has become heightened awareness. The council asked me to take a look at that. I know there's been some issues about where the day-by-day shelter goes. I can assure everybody here that those groups are working together, despite what may be portrayed. It's sort of like locker room talk. It's like you hear these things. I can assure you that these folks are working together in earnest to get that work done. Our role is to facilitate and make sure that whatever resources we can bring, we bring. Obviously, the land use issue is a huge part of that. Equity and inclusion, we do have a diversity, equity, and inclusion committee that's working on looking at department goals and measures to figure out how we can be more inclusive and welcoming as an employer and as a community. And that, again, that's part of our current strategic plan. I did talk about facility needs, certainly the ones that we pointed out, but we have other buildings that are going to get needed to get done, and you're going to see those. We're taking a look at fire stations. Are they in the right location? We haven't done anything with them for about 25 years, so we do need to take a look at that. The State Municipal Services Payment Program is just one example of programs with the state that have actually stayed frozen or been reduced over the years. That's something we have to address because that is part of the whole Wisconsin method of not allowing communities to collect, for example, sales taxes, and it gets redistributed through the state. State isn't redistributing this. The state has had some significant increases in their revenue, and they have not passed it on to local governments. That is a problem that everybody here needs to be aware of. And it's not just with me. You're going to hear it from County Executive Damel. You've heard it from Superintendent Davis. It's a problem all over the place. And then lastly, our state of the city, much like this event today, we're going to continue to hold it virtual. Our plan is to premiere it on Monday, March 14th. It'll all be online and available for everybody to look at. So that's my presentation, and I will certainly be happy to answer questions later on.
Great, thanks, Mark. And speaking of questions, if anybody who's listening and has a question, please use the Q&A tab on your screen and forward your question. Now would be a good time to do that. And finishing up, batting cleanup today is our new county executive, John Damel. John.
All right, thank you for having me. I'm going to echo the sentiments of everybody else. I'm honored to be a part of this panel. A lot of great leaders here, and it's interesting for me. I've been on the other side of this seminar for many years, and it's been a fun challenge to be on this side of the screen, getting into government. 2022 is going to be the year of transition. I ran on a platform of collaboration, communication, reform, and growth. And a lot of that sounds like change, and change is usually really well welcomed by many people. So I kind of want to go over a couple of those goals and some things that we're doing on them. I'm going to start with growth. We're really working on leadership with department heads and all of our supervisors. What we had when I got there as far as leadership was org theory. There's a large difference between effective and efficient. So we've really been doing some leadership training with a lot of our department heads to develop how you lead and to really build a bench of people. So we have tomorrow's leaders getting ready. A lot of that growth, eventually we like to, some of the things that I heard today is our net new construction as Winnebago County, as a county that has 17% of the state's fresh water with 5 lakes and rivers everywhere. We don't grow. I mean, we sit stagnant. We sat at a 1.15 net new construction last year. And that's unacceptable to me. And we have to find ways to attract talent, attract businesses, attract people coming here. Collaboration, working a lot with our key stakeholders. We actually, with UWO, we had our first intern in the office of the county executive for Winnebago County. Nancy started with us 2 weeks ago. She is a student in the MPA program. And we really are excited to have her and teach a little bit about county government and to start that collaboration with some of our key partners. With so many sources of tomorrow's leaders in our area, we need to have channels of that to come into our county governments and schools, and we have to take advantage of that. Communication was a big one for me. I attended a emergency management training in Calumet County, and they asked everybody who has a Facebook page to raise their hand. And I was the only one to not have his hand up in the room, and also the largest entity in the room. So Winnebago County really has to do a better job of coming into the future of how we communicate with our citizens. Even our website, I'm sure a few of you have tried to navigate that, is get an overhaul. We have to be more approachable, we have to be more readable, and we have to be more transparent with our citizens. And that's going to be a really big one for me, and there should be changes coming this spring. We're already working on it. Reform. One of the things that we did was our tax rate reduction in Winnebago County. For a long time, the state has been pretty generous to counties, but not so much cities and townships and school districts. So we tried to back off a little bit so they would have room to come up a little bit, and it didn't hit everybody's taxes as a whole. For a long time in Winnebago County, we have taxed to the max simply because we felt we had to. We have to be able to defend that position. I did not want to take net new construction this year. My board had the authority and the wherewithal to say, yes, we are going to take it. However, that $680,000 in taxes, we never would have been able to get back, and I understand that. But we have close to $40 million in our general fund, and it looks like it might grow again. I think we could have done without that $680,000 for 1 year, but we'll get there. We just have to be able to defend it. Another thing with the reform is the Connect program. We have moved the Connect program out of the DA's office and into human services. that was a willing transition between the DA and Dr. Bill Topol, who is the Department Head of Human Services. We are really trying to fight this addiction issue that we have in the overdose epidemic that we're finding in Winnebago County. 2 years ago, we only had 20. This year, it looks like it's going to be 45. We are awaiting one more toxicology report to come back, and it looks like we already have 7 to start the year for this year. So it's an epidemic that we have to address. We have to be able to get addiction services to the people struggling before they are in massive trouble with the law, and that is what we're trying to transition right now with the Connect program. We want to move it upstream. We want to have referrals for officers to be able to put people into the program so we can get them before the addiction sets in. One of those things was something that Manager Mark Roloff talked about. We have paired up with the Oshkosh Police Department as a pilot program where we have one of our social workers running with a community service officer. And the idea of that role is not to respond to crisis. So the idea is not for somebody to show up when a situation has reached the point of crisis. The idea of it is management. We know who our normal people that struggle are, and Oshkosh Police Department has their list of normal people that they struggle with. It's a way for us to have a memo of understanding to kind of combine those lists in a way that respects privacy, so that we can go and with our citizens that can cause issues to keep them in maintenance. If they miss a court date or if they miss a doctor's appointment, we can show up and see if everything's all right to keep them at a level that's manageable before it gets to crisis. The last thing I really want to talk about is board elections. We have a very interesting one coming up. We have 14 non-candidacies filed. We have one incumbent running a write-in campaign against another write-in candidate, 2 additional write-in candidates, and 2 members that were appointed in 2021. That is a potential of 19 members just there with less than a year of experience. So I've challenged our corporation council, and I have challenged our finance and HR to get together with a couple of the board members right now, our chairman and our vice chairman, to really figure out an onboarding process. We have to do a better job when people get elected as to explaining to them, number one, what the role of county government is. There are certain things that are in our purview, and we have to stay within our role. And number 2, kind of explaining them the process. Some of the people coming on may have committee experience. Some may have never sat on a committee before in their lives, but I still want them to be able to have an impact. So we have to make sure that they are capable of just using layman's terms, and then we're there to staff them with the legalese, if you would, to really have effective policy decisions. And we have to do a better job as a county of getting that information out there. One of the things that I've talked about that I think the city of Oshkosh has used for a long time is standardized memos. Standardized memos is a way for us to get the information to our supervisors with the full information so they can make great policy discussions and make a good policy decision at the end of the day. I want them to be able to decipher the information no matter what committee it's coming from. On top of that, I want to be able to get that information out to our citizens so they know what's coming down the pipeline in county government. We have to do a better job with transparency. I have challenged our corporation council to be more involved with the resolution process. So resolutions are kind of written when they go to the committee, and then we can adjust from there so that everybody knows what kind of legislation we have coming down from county government. Now, county government statutorily doesn't have the same police enforcement police powers as a city, and that's going to be really something for us to explain to supervisors and the general public what actually the role of county government is. The challenge that I think me and some of my colleagues here are facing is then the state level and the federal level, they seem to deal a lot more with ideas and everything looks good on paper. But when it gets down to the county level and the city level and the schools and our universities and we actually have to take those ideas and put them on the pavement, and we have to put them in action. And that becomes a very big challenge at times, because what looks great on paper, I'm sure my colleagues understand, doesn't always work in reality. So we do the best that we can to kind of balance those. And seeing as that we are all supposed to get 10 minutes and it's 9:06 and I'd like to see some questions, I'm going to pass there.
All right. Well, thank you very much, John. Thanks all panelists for joining us. We are nearing our time allotment. There is some time for some questions. So if anybody does have any questions, just please forward those over. I do have a quick one for Alex. When I drive into work every day, I usually come down past the UW Oshkosh's Wellness Center, and the lot adjacent to the Wellness Center over the past fall, I saw some earth being moved around, and looked like it's prepping for something. What does the university have a plan for there?
Yeah, thanks, John. I think I'm correct in saying that is some preparation that's been underway to make room for a practice field for the Titan Thunder Marching Band. So that would be the goal there, just to have a little bit more of a shaped ground for the band to work on its choreography, playing, that sort of thing.
Great. One question that it's actually for everybody, and it might be a tough question in terms of keeping each answer brief, but each of you over the past several months, each universe or each institution received an allocation of federal funds due to COVID, whether it's ARPA money and other monies before that. If we can go down, starting with Fox Valley Tech, how much has the technical college received, and what has the college used? How has that money been used by the college, or what's the plans for that? So why don't we start with, do the same order that we did before, start with Deb and then go down the line.
Off the top of my head, I don't know what the amount is that Fox Valley Tech obtained for the college for the COVID funding from the federal government, but I do know that we implemented various processes to utilize that funding. We hired contact tracers, nursing positions for contact tracing. There's a number of different projects that we've implemented for, regarding COVID, not only for masks for students, a number of different things for sanitation and cleansing of classrooms and office space and those type of things. So to the best of my ability, that's what I know about it.
Okay, Alex, UW Oshkosh.
Yeah, I have to echo a lot of what Deb said. I will tell you that we also got a vast majority of funding went directly to students for emergency funds, and was basically, we were a pass through for those funds. I did reach out, John. If I can get a more precise number for you, I'll report back here in a little bit. But otherwise, yes, just reimbursing or covering costs for COVID response was the other half that the university needed to use and apply.
Oshkosh Area School District, Brian.
Yeah, so we had received 3 rounds from a public schools standpoint, 3 rounds of COVID funding starting back in April of 2020 at the beginning of the pandemic. So our first round was just over $1.3 million. Second round, which would have been the last school year, was just under $6 million. And our third round, our most recent round this year, is about $13.3 million. So just over $20 million total that we had for the 3 rounds of COVID support. So again, that's been over a period of time. I think we have until the end of 2024 to expend those funds. And as was stated earlier, primarily that's been around COVID mitigation measures, which include masks, which include any upgrades to facilities that need to be taken care of. And some of those were temporary. Some of those are things that we can carry forward. We've also been able to have the opportunity for staffing as we've been able to respond to some of our staffing needs with some of that money. Now, we're also very conscious, especially from a staffing standpoint, that that's temporary money. And so those are some positions that we brought on just for the short term to be able to work through just some of our needs, especially related to nursing and some of our behavioral support. So those are things that we're, tracking very closely. We have our Department of Public Instruction. We have some very specific reporting that we need to do to them. So our business office is in the process of that for round 3, but just over $20 million. And that's something that has been much needed, certainly, again, as we're trying to do the best we can to be able to keep kids in person. That's been a really important funding source for us to be able to make that happen.
Great. Mark Roloff.
Sure. I'm just going to focus on the one that gets the most notice is the allocation to cities, which our allocation was 20.5 million, of which we received half of it. The council made a policy decision to allocate 3/4 of that to infrastructure type projects and a quarter to non-infrastructure. Very little has been allocated to the non-infrastructure so far. We solicited and received applications and suggestions on how those funds will be allocated, and the council will eventually be addressing those issues. There are some nonprofits in the area that have been impacted. We certainly want to take a look at that. On the infrastructure side, council has allocated roughly about 3 million of the 3/4, so roughly 15 million, mostly for capital projects that were either related to COVID or just well overdue needs. The largest expenditure of that, about 60% of that money that we've allocated so far, about $1.8 million, is to replace police and fire radios. The technology has become obsolete, and we needed to get those replaced if we're going to coordinate communications between the different agencies and throughout the county. So that's something that we've been working on. So that's kind of where the status is right now. But we've only allocated about 3 million of 20 million, so we still have a long way to go.
Great. And lastly, John Damel.
Yeah, as far as the ARPA money, 33 million is what the county was given, and we have half of that already. Unlike all of my colleagues and even the Chamber of Commerce here, is we as a county do not have a strategic plan. So our first ask is going to be really to cover a strategic plan for our county board, and something we really need to work on. We have to have clear guidelines as to what our roles are as county government before we can start having projects come forward. We have till 2024 to allocate this, 2026 to spend it. I'm still hesitant on that because I have yet to see a deadline that has stuck for this entire pandemic. So we'll see how that goes. But we have to have a clear vision for how we're going to spend this money to have returns on our investment in the long-term future, because it's going to take us a while to pay this back. And as many people here know, 33 million sounds like a lot of money, but it can be gone in a beat. There are so many projects out there that are willing. We have to have a way to prioritize those and really see the effect of it, do the cost analysis benefit, and see what's going to be the best for the citizens as a whole. Winnebago County is very hard. We are not a traditional county. We do not have a population center. We have a third in the Oshkosh area. We have a third in Neenah, Menasha, and Fox Crossing, and a third that are out in the rural areas. So we're kind of like a tri-county in one. We have 3 populations that we really have to look at and see what's the best way that we can collaborate with a lot of the townships and municipalities so we can all get the biggest investment here through collaboration.
Okay, great. That's perfect. John, that took us right up to 9:15. So not a minute to spare. So With that, I want to thank all of our panelists for joining us again this year. That was great. We appreciate it. Appreciate those folks who tuned in. We had recorded it. It will be on our website for those who want to see it again, and for others who haven't been able to join us at this time live. So with that, thank you all, and we will see you very, very soon. See you all there. Thanks.
Thanks for organizing, John.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Take care.